Imagine being
details should be
invited somewhere,
finalized by the
not
morning
to be
briefing.
celebrated, not to be
Excellent.
honored, but to be torn
chairman
apart
will be
in front of
pleased with
people
the
who
acquisition
feast
terms.
on others' humiliation. That was what happened to Maya. Maya worked as a cleaning lady in one of Seoul's most exclusive private clubs, the kind of place where million-dollar deals happened over whiskey that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She scrubbed marble floors until they shined like mirrors, polished gold fixtures until her reflection stared back at her, and emptied ashtrays filled with Cuban cigar butts that cost more than her weekly salary. Most people walked past her like she was part of the furniture, invisible,
We must be careful with the
forgettable,
new project.
beneath their notice.
He asks too many
To
questions.
them,
I understand,
she was
Harmony.
just another
I will
face
handle
among
it
the staff,
quietly.
another pair of hands
Look at
keeping
her.
their
She
world
actually thinks she
spotless.
belongs here.
So when the invitation came, sealed in
isn't
thick
it?
cream paper with gold embossing, it felt surreal, almost like someone was playing a cruel joke. It was for the wedding anniversary party of Choi Min-seo, wife of one of Seoul's most feared underground bosses, and the most venomous woman Maya had ever encountered. But what Maya didn't know was that this invitation wasn't kindness. It was a calculated trap designed to humiliate her in front of Seoul's most powerful criminals and their jeweled wives. But life has a strange sense of justice, because on that night, the woman they expected to ridicule, the one they planned to use as entertainment, walked through those doors like a queen returning to reclaim her throne. What happened next? Nobody could have imagined. Before we begin, tell us where you are watching from. Drop it in the comments. Enjoy the story. The sound of designer heels echoed through the marble hallways of Club Elysium, one of the most exclusive establishments in Gangnam. The walls were covered in dark wood panels imported from Italy. Crystal chandeliers hung from 20-foot ceilings, casting rainbow prisms across surfaces so clean you could eat off them. Black luxury cars lined the underground parking garage. Genesis G90s, Mercedes Maybachs, Bentleys with tinted windows so dark you couldn't see the sins hidden inside. This was where Seoul's powerful came to play, not the celebrities you saw on television, not the tech billionaires featured in magazines. No, these were the people who controlled things from the shadows, the Jopak, the organized crime families who ran everything from construction to entertainment, from shipping ports to political campaigns. Men in custom-tailored suits discussed territory over aged whiskey. Women dripping in diamonds whispered about whose husband was sleeping with whose mistress. And in the middle of all this wealth, all this power, all this darkness wrapped in luxury was Maya. She pushed her cleaning cart slowly, methodically. Her uniform was plain, navy blue pants, a matching shirt with Club Elysium staff embroidered in Korean on the chest, rubber gloves that had seen better days. Her black hair was pulled back tight in a bun. At 40 years old, her hands told stories her mouth never would. Scars from years of harsh chemicals, calluses from scrubbing, burns from touching things still too hot. She moved through the club like a ghost, invisible, silent, unnoticed. People talked around her like she wasn't there, and over the years, Maya had learned that invisibility was its own kind of power. When people don't see you, they forget to guard their words. She'd heard confessions, business deals, murder plots, affairs, all while wiping down a table or emptying a trash bin. But there was one person who always made sure Maya knew her place: Choi Min-seo. Min-seo was the 28-year-old wife of Choi Dae-jung, the feared leader of the Baekho Pa, the white tiger gang that controlled most of southern Seoul. She was beautiful in that carefully constructed way. Designer clothes that cost more than cars, face maintained by Seoul's most expensive plastic surgeons, body sculpted by personal trainers, and barely eating anything but ice and cigarettes. But her beauty was like a knife, sharp, cold, meant to cut. She walked into the club's main lounge now, surrounded by her usual entourage of equally cruel women. Their laughter was too loud, too sharp, like glass breaking. Min-seo's eyes scanned the room until they landed on Maya, who was quietly cleaning the bar area. A smile spread across Min Seo's face, not a kind smile, a predator's smile. "Well, well." Min Seo's voice dripped with false sweetness as she approached. "Working hard, I see. That's good. These floors won't clean themselves." Maya kept her eyes down, her hands moving steadily across the counter. "Yes, Sajangnim Daek," she said quietly, using the respectful term for the boss's wife. Min Seo leaned against the bar, her diamond bracelet, worth more than Maya would earn in 5 years, clicking against the marble surface Maya had just polished. "You know what I was just thinking?" Min Seo said to her friends, but loud enough for Maya to hear every word. "I was thinking about my anniversary party next week. 5 years married to Dai Jung. We're celebrating at the Shilla Hotel, obviously. Private ballroom. Only the most important people in Seoul will be there." Her friends giggled, already knowing where this was going. Min Seo pulled out a cream-colored envelope from her designer handbag. The paper was thick, expensive. Gold lettering spelled out the invitation details in elegant Korean calligraphy. "Maya," Min Seo said, her voice saccharine sweet, "I want to give you something." Maya finally looked up, her dark eyes meeting Min Seo's cold ones. Min Seo held out the invitation like it was a gift, like it was a blessing. "I'm inviting you to my anniversary party. Isn't that generous of me?" The other women barely contained their laughter, hands pressed to their mouths, shoulders shaking. Maya stared at the envelope. Every instinct in her body screamed danger. This wasn't kindness. This was a setup. I don't think that's appropriate, Soyoung-nim Daek," Maya said carefully. "I'm just staff. I wouldn't fit in at such an event." "Nonsense!" Min Seo's voice was cheerful, but her eyes were ice. "I insist. Really, I do. It'll be wonderful. You can see how the other half lives. Maybe learn something about elegance, class, things that can't be scrubbed into existence." Her friends burst into laughter. Min Seo pressed the invitation into Maya's gloved hand. "The dress code is formal. Black tie. I'm sure you have something appropriate in your closet." She looked Maya up and down slowly, deliberately. "Or maybe you can borrow something from wherever people like you shop." The words hung in the air like poison gas. "Everyone should know their place in this world," Min Seo continued, her smile widening. "And next Saturday, at my party, surrounded by Seoul's most powerful families, you'll know exactly where you stand. Won't that be educational?" One of her friends leaned in. "Maybe she can help serve drinks, make herself useful." They all laughed again, the sound echoing off the marble walls. Maya's jaw tightened. Her fingers gripped the envelope so hard it crumpled slightly. But she kept her voice level, kept her face neutral. "Thank you for the invitation, Sajangnim Daek." Min Seo patted Maya's shoulder like she was petting a dog. "Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see what you wear." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Maya, do try to clean yourself up. You smell like bleach and desperation." The women walked away in a cloud of expensive perfume and cruel laughter, their heels clicking like countdown timers to Maya's public humiliation. Maya stood there, alone in the empty lounge, holding the invitation in her trembling hands. Her throat felt tight, her eyes burned, but she refused to let the tears fall. Not here, not where they might see. She looked down at the gold lettering. "You are cordially invited to celebrate 5 years of marriage between Choi Dae-jung and Choi Min Seo. Saturday, 7 p.m., the Shilla Hotel Grand Ballroom. Formal attire required." At the bottom, handwritten in Min Seo's sharp handwriting, "Looking forward to seeing you there. MS." Maya's hands shook. She knew exactly what this was. They wanted to parade her in front of Seoul's criminal elite. They wanted to laugh at the poor black cleaning woman who dared to exist in their world. They wanted entertainment, a spectacle, a joke to tell for years. Look at her thinking she belongs here. Did you see what she was wearing? How embarrassing. Maya slowly folded the invitation and slipped it into her pocket. Her shift wasn't over. She still had 3 more hours of cleaning, 3 more hours of being invisible. But as she pushed her cart toward the private rooms, something stirred inside her chest, something she'd buried deep for 5 years, something dangerous. Maya's apartment was in Guro, far from the glittering towers of Gangnam. It was small, one room that served as bedroom, living room, and kitchen all at once. The bathroom was barely big enough to turn around in. The walls were thin. She could hear her neighbors arguing, their television, their lives bleeding through the concrete. But it was hers. She'd earned it with her hands, her back, her silence. She climbed the 4 flights of stairs. The elevator had been broken for months, and unlocked her door. The moment it closed behind her, the mask fell. Maya dropped her bag, dropped her keys, dropped to her knees on the worn linoleum floor, and she cried. Deep, painful sobs that came from somewhere ancient inside her. Tears that carried 5 years of swallowed pride, 5 years of bowed heads, 5 years of being treated like she was less than human. She cried for every time someone looked through her instead of at her. She cried for every insult disguised as a joke. She cried for the life she used to have, the person she used to be, the power she'd walked away from. When the tears finally stopped, Maya sat back against the door, exhausted, empty. Her eyes fell on the invitation lying near her bag, the gold letters mocking her. "Looking forward to seeing you there." Maya laughed, but it was a bitter sound, broken glass in her throat. "They have no idea," she whispered to the empty room. "They have no idea who I am." She pushed herself up slowly, her body aching from the day's work. She walked to the small closet in the corner and reached up to the top shelf, pulling down a box. It was old, covered in dust, sealed with tape that had yellowed with time. She hadn't opened this box in 5 years, hadn't needed to, hadn't wanted to. But now, sitting on her small bed with the box in her lap, Maya's hands moved almost on their own. She peeled back the tape, lifted the lid. Inside were pieces of another life, photographs. The first one showed a younger Maya, maybe 35, standing in front of a Lagos nightclub called Empire. But she wasn't standing alone. She was surrounded by people, men in expensive suits, women in designer dresses, everyone looking at her with something that wasn't quite fear but was definitely respect. In the photo, Maya wore a red dress that hugged every curve. Her hair was styled in long braids that fell past her shoulders. Diamond earrings caught the camera flash, and around her neck was a gold necklace with a pendant, a lion's head with ruby eyes, the symbol of the Ease Syndicate, her family's syndicate. Maya's hands trembled as she pulled out more photos. Her father, Chukwudi Eze, sitting behind a massive desk in Lagos, Nigeria, his expression serious, powerful. Her mother, Amara, elegant and fierce, standing beside him. Her older brother, Emeka, who ran the East African operations. The Eze family controlled import-export routes from West Africa to Asia, legitimate on paper, textiles, electronics, automotive parts. But underneath they moved everything, weapons, diamonds, information. They had connections in 15 countries, partnerships with organizations from the Yakuza in Japan to the Triads in Hong Kong. And Maya had been the one they'd sent to Korea. She was supposed to establish connections, build partnerships, create new routes into East Asia. At 35, she'd arrived in Seoul with a diplomatic passport, unlimited funds, and her family's complete trust. For 2 years, she'd done exactly that. She'd met with the heads of Korean crime families. She'd negotiated deals worth millions. She'd walked into rooms full of dangerous men and walked out with their respect and their business. She'd been powerful, feared, important. And then everything fell apart. Maya pulled out a newspaper clipping, the paper brittle and yellow. The headline was in Korean: "Nigerian diplomatic official caught in international scandal." It had been a setup. A rival family had planted evidence, fake documents, made it look like Maya was breaking international law in ways even her family's lawyers couldn't defend. The Korean government, always happy to appear tough on foreign crime, had moved fast. Too fast. Her family had told her to run, disappear, let them fix it from Lagos. But fixing it meant negotiations, bribes, favors owed. It meant time. Years, maybe. So Maya had vanished. She'd burned her passport, destroyed her phone, cut her hair, changed everything about herself. She'd become nobody. No money, no connections, no power. Just another immigrant trying to survive in Seoul. For 5 years, she'd been invisible. For 5 years, she'd scrubbed floors and emptied trash and swallowed her pride. For 5 years, she'd convinced herself this was safer, better. That invisibility was a kind of protection. But now, holding these photographs, touching this gold lion pendant, Maya felt something else rising inside her. Not fear, not shame, something molten, something that had been sleeping, waiting. Rage and power. She pulled out her old phone from the bottom of the box. It was dead, hadn't been charged in 5 years. She plugged it into the wall and waited. The screen flickered to life. 73 missed calls, 147 text messages, all old, all from 5 years ago. But there was one contact she knew would still work, one number that never changed. Maya took a deep breath and dialed. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, speaking Igbo. "This number hasn't been active in 5 years. Who is this?" Maya closed her eyes. "Emika," she said softly. "It's your sister." Silence. Then, "Maya?" Her brother's voice cracked with emotion. "Maya, is that really you? Where are you? Are you alive? We've been looking—" "I'm in Seoul," Maya interrupted. "I'm alive. I'm safe. I've been hiding." "Hiding?" Emika's voice shifted, became sharp, focused. "From who? What happened? Talk to me." Maya looked at the invitation lying on her bed. "I've been living quietly, working, staying off everyone's radar. But something happened today, and I think it's time to stop hiding." "Tell me everything." And she did. She told him about her job at Club Elysium, about Minseo, about the invitation, about the trap being set for her. When she finished, Emeka was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed, deep, genuine laughter that Maya hadn't heard in 5 years. "They invited you to humiliate you?" he said. "They have no idea who you are, do they?" "No," Maya said. "They think I'm just a cleaning lady." "Oh, Maya." Emika's voice was full of dark amusement. "They're about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating an easy." He paused. "What do you need?" Maya's grip tightened on the phone. "I need to remind Seoul who I am, and I need to do it in a way they'll never forget." "Consider it done. I'll have everything there by Friday. Clothes, security, everything." "And Maya?" His voice softened. "We've missed you. Father has never stopped looking. When this is over, come home. Please." Tears slipped down Maya's cheeks, but she was smiling. "Maybe I will." "Saturday night," Emika said. "You walk into that party like the queen you are. Show them exactly who they decided to mess with." When Maya hung up, she felt different, lighter, stronger. She looked at her reflection in the small mirror hanging on the wall. For 5 years, she'd seen a cleaning lady, tired, invisible, beaten down. But now she saw Maya Ease, daughter of Chukwudi, sister of Emeka, former queen of the Eze Syndicate's Korean operations. And she smiled. Saturday arrived like Judgment Day. Maya hadn't gone to work all week. She'd called in sick, which had probably made Minseo laugh with her friends. Poor Maya probably realized she has nothing to wear. She's too embarrassed to show up. Let them think that. Let them prepare their jokes. Let them sharpen their cruelty, because they had no idea what was coming. On Friday, a package had arrived at Maya's apartment. Inside was a garment bag, a jewelry box, and a note in Emika's handwriting. "Remind them who we are. Your brother." Now standing in her small bathroom, Maya barely recognized herself. The dress was African royalty meets modern power. It was a floor-length gown in deep emerald green, the color of the Ease family, with gold threading that caught the light like liquid fire. The neckline was high and elegant, the sleeves long and regal, but the back was completely open, revealing the tattoo Maya had gotten in Lagos when she'd officially joined the family business, a lion surrounded by geometric patterns, the mark of the Ease. Her hair was styled in intricate braids pulled back into an elegant crown. Her makeup was flawless, highlighting her dark skin until it glowed like she was lit from within. Gold jewelry adorned her, earrings that cascaded like small chandeliers, bracelets that covered both wrists, and most importantly, the lion pendant around her neck, its ruby eyes gleaming. She slipped on her heels, 6-inch stilettos in gold that made her nearly 6 feet tall. In the mirror, Maya didn't see a cleaning lady anymore. She saw a queen. A knock on her door made her turn. When she opened it, 2 men in sharp black suits stood waiting. Private security, her brother's people. "Ms. Ease," one of them said with a respectful bow, "we're ready when you are." Downstairs, parked in front of her humble apartment building, was a black Genesis G90, the same kind of car driven by souls most powerful. The windows were tinted so dark they looked like polished obsidian. Her neighbors had come out to stare, confused, whispering to each other. Maya walked down those stairs like she was descending a throne, head high, back straight, every step deliberate. One of the security men opened the car door for her. She slid inside, the leather seats soft as butter. As the car pulled away, Maya took one last look at the apartment building that had been her hiding place for 5 years. Then she looked forward, toward the Shilla Hotel, toward her reckoning. The Shilla Hotel was legendary in Seoul. 5-star luxury, old money, new power, a place where presidents stayed, where corporations negotiated billion-dollar mergers, where the elite celebrated their importance. Tonight, the entire grand ballroom had been reserved for Choi Dae-jung and Choi Min-seo's anniversary party. Outside, luxury cars lined the entrance. Men in tuxedos and women in designer gowns walked up the red carpet. Photographers captured every arrival, though these photos would never be published in any legitimate newspaper. This was the underworld celebrating itself, away from public eyes. Inside, the ballroom looked like something from a drama. Crystal chandeliers the size of cars hung from the ceiling. Tables were covered in white silk, decorated with arrangements of white roses and orchids that cost more than most people's monthly rent. A string quartet played classical music in the corner. Waiters in white gloves carried trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. And in the center of it all, holding court like a queen, was Min-seo. She wore a white gown covered in crystals that made her look like she was wrapped in diamonds. Her hair was styled in perfect waves. Her makeup was dramatic. Dark eyes, red lips. She laughed and posed for photos, her arm linked with her husband's. Choi Dae-jung was 45, handsome in that dangerous way powerful men often are. His tuxedo was custom-tailored. His watch was a Patek Philippe worth more than a house. He smiled, but his eyes were always scanning, always alert. You didn't become the head of the Baeko Pa by being careless. Min-seo leaned close to one of her friends. "Do you think she'll actually come?" Her friend giggled. "The cleaning lady? Maybe. I bet she shows up in her work uniform." They both laughed, imagining it. "This is going to be the highlight of my night," Min-seo said, sipping her champagne. "Honestly, I can't wait to see everyone's reaction when she walks in thinking she belongs here." Outside, Maya's car pulled up to the entrance. The photographers didn't notice at first. Just another car, just another guest. But then the door opened, and Maya stepped out. Time seemed to slow down. The first thing people noticed was the dress, that emerald green that seemed to glow against her dark skin, the gold threading that caught every light, the way the fabric moved like water, like power made visible. Then they noticed her, the way she held herself, the crown of braids, the gold jewelry that wasn't costume jewelry. This was real, heavy, expensive. The pendant around her neck with those ruby eyes that seemed to watch everything. She stood there for just a moment, letting them look, letting them see. Then she walked. Each step was measured, confident. The sound of her heels on the marble echoed like a heartbeat. The photographers' cameras went crazy, flashing non-stop, even though they didn't know who she was. They just knew she was important. You couldn't look like that and be anything less. Maya walked through the hotel entrance, through the lobby, towards the ballroom. Behind her, 2 security men in black suits followed at a respectful distance. She reached the ballroom doors. The attendant looked at her, slightly confused. "Name, please?" Maya smiled softly. "Maya Ease." He checked his list, found it. His eyes widened slightly. Someone had actually RSVP'd under that name. He opened the doors, and Maya walked into the lion's den. The ballroom went silent. Not all at once. It was like a wave, conversation stopping, laughter dying, glasses pausing halfway to lips. People turned one by one to see who had just walked in. The string quartet continued playing, completely unaware, their music now the only sound in the massive room. Maya stood at the entrance, taking it all in. The chandeliers, the silk, the roses, the powerful families of Seoul's underworld all gathered in one place, and every single one of them was staring at her. She walked forward, slowly, down the 3 small steps that led into the ballroom proper. Her dress flowed behind her like a cape. The gold caught the chandelier light, making her look like she was on fire. At a table near the front, one of the older men, a boss from the Dongdaemun territory, leaned forward, squinting. "Who is that?" he muttered to his wife. His wife shook her head, equally confused. "I don't know, but she looks important." Near the center of the room, Min Seo had been mid-laugh when the silence began. She turned, annoyed, wondering what had interrupted her moment, and she saw Maya. Her champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. Min Seo's mouth fell open. Her eyes went wide. Her face went from shock to confusion to something that looked like panic. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not... That can't be..." Because this woman, this queen walking toward her, could not possibly be Maya. Not the cleaning lady. Not the woman she'd spent months humiliating. Not the immigrant in the worn uniform who scrubbed toilets and emptied trash. But it was. Maya's eyes found Min Seo across the room. She smiled. Not a kind smile. A smile that promised reckoning. She walked past tables of Seoul's most dangerous people, past the Mapo boss and his sons, past the Yongdongpo syndicate leader, past the Songpa family. Every single one of them watched her with confusion and something that looked like respect. Because even if they didn't know who she was yet, they recognized power when they saw it. Maya stopped about 10 feet from Min Seo. The 2 women stared at each other. "Sejongnim Daek," Maya said softly, her voice carrying in the silent room. "Thank you so much for inviting me. What a beautiful party." Min Seo's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. You... what?" One of Min Seo's friends, the one who joked about Maya helping serve drinks, stared with wide eyes. "Honey," she whispered, Is that the cleaning lady?" But before Min Seo could respond, an elderly man stood up from a table near the back. He was in his 70s, gray hair, expensive but understated suit. He walked with a cane, but his back was straight, his eyes sharp. He was one of the old guard, someone who'd been in the Jopok business for 50 years, someone who'd worked not just in Korea but internationally. He walked closer to Maya, his eyes narrowing, studying her face, her jewelry, her pendant. Then his eyes went wide. "Impossible," he breathed. Then louder, "Impossible!" Everyone turned to him. He pointed at Maya with a shaking hand. "That pendant, that lion, I know that lion." Min Seo looked like she might faint. "What are you talking about, Harabeoji?" The old man ignored her. He walked right up to Maya and bowed. A respectful bow, the kind you gave to equals, not servants. "The Ease Lion," he said in Korean, then switched to English. "You're from the Ease family, from Nigeria." Maya smiled and responded in perfect Korean. "Yes, Harabeoji, I am." "My God," he whispered. He turned to the room, his voice growing stronger. "Do any of you know who this woman is?" He gestured to Maya like she was a museum piece. "This is Maya Ease, daughter of Chukwudi Eze, head of the Eze Syndicate, one of the most powerful organizations in West Africa. They control trade routes from Lagos to Shanghai. They have partnerships with the Yakuza, the Triads, organizations across Asia." The room erupted in whispers. The old man continued, looking at Maya with something like awe. 5 years ago, she was here in Seoul. She was the one negotiating with all of us, building partnerships, creating new routes. I met her twice. I worked with her brother, and then she just disappeared. He turned to Maya. "Where have you been?" Maya's voice was calm, but it carried. "Hiding," she said simply. "After I was framed, I thought it was safer to disappear, to become invisible, to wait." She looked directly at Min Seo, whose face had gone completely white. "So, I got a job cleaning at Club Elysium," Maya continued. "I kept my head down. I stayed quiet. I scrubbed floors and emptied trash, and nobody noticed me. For 5 years, I was invisible to all of you." Min Seo made a small choking sound. Maya took a step closer. But then someone decided to play a cruel game. Someone decided it would be funny to invite the cleaning lady to a party full of Seoul's elite. Someone thought it would be entertaining to humiliate someone they saw as beneath them. The room was so silent you could hear breathing. Maya's smile was sharp as a blade. What they didn't know was that the woman they were inviting used to walk into rooms like this as an equal, that I used to negotiate with people exactly like you, that I used to be the one everyone feared and respected. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of various bosses. "Some of you worked with me, some of you remember me, and those who don't, ask around. Ask about the Ease family. Ask about what happens to people who disrespect us." Choi Dae-jung, who'd been standing frozen next to his wife, finally found his voice. "Maya Eze," he said slowly. "I remember, 5 years ago. You were the one working on the Port of Busan deal." "Yes," Maya said. "Your predecessor and I had an agreement. 15% of the imports in exchange for safe passage and distribution. It made both our families a lot of money." Dae-jung's face had gone pale. He turned slowly to his wife. "You invited her here?" His voice was low, dangerous. "You invited Maya Ease here to humiliate her?" Min Seo's hands were shaking. I didn't know who she was. She was just a cleaning lady." "Just a cleaning lady," Maya repeated softly. She laughed, but it wasn't a kind sound. "That's the thing about people like you, Min Seo. You think that because someone is doing humble work, they must be a humble person. You think that because someone is in a low position, they must deserve to be there. You think that someone's current situation is all they've ever been and all they'll ever be." She took another step forward. Min Seo stepped back. "You saw me cleaning floors," Maya continued, "and you thought that's all I was. You never asked who I was before. You never wondered what circumstances brought me there. You just saw someone you thought you could humiliate for fun." Tears were starting to stream down Min Seo's face, ruining her perfect makeup. "I scrubbed your floors," Maya said. "I cleaned your messes. I listened to your cruel jokes, and I stayed quiet because I was hiding, because I needed time, because I thought invisibility was safety. But you know what you did tonight?" She gestured to the room, to all the people watching. "You reminded me who I am. You reminded me that hiding means letting people like you think you're weak. You reminded me that silence isn't peace. It's just delayed justice." The old man spoke up again. Ms. Ease, if I may ask, why did you really come tonight? Maya turned to him, her expression softening slightly. Because I was tired, Harabaoji, tired of hiding, tired of pretending to be less than I am, and because sometimes the only way to stop being invisible is to walk into the light and let everyone see you. She looked back at Minseo. You wanted to embarrass me tonight. You wanted entertainment. You wanted to watch me squirm in front of all these powerful people. Maya smiled. Well, here I am. Are you entertained? Minseo's sobs were the only sound. Daejung's jaw was clenched so tight it looked painful. He turned to his wife. Do you understand what you've done? His voice was barely controlled rage. Do you understand the disrespect, the insult? Her family has connections we've been trying to rebuild for 5 years. And you, he couldn't even finish. Another boss spoke up, an older woman who controlled real estate in Gangnam. Ms. Ez, I want to apologize on behalf of this. She gestured vaguely at Minseo. If we had known you were in Seoul, you would have been treated with the respect you deserve. Others echoed her sentiment. Yes, absolutely. We had no idea. If there's anything we can do... Maya looked around at all of them. What you can do, she said clearly, is remember this moment. Remember that every person you walk past, every person you ignore, every person you treat like they're invisible, they have a story, they have a history, they have power you might not see. She looked at Minseo one last time. And you never know when that power might walk back into your life and remind you exactly who they are. The room erupted in applause. Slow at first, then building. Boss after boss stood up, clapping. Not just polite applause, real respect, real recognition. Minseo stood in the center of her own party, her white dress now feeling like a shroud, her face streaked with tears, completely and utterly destroyed. Daejung didn't even look at her. He walked over to Maya and bowed, deep, respectful. Ms. Ease, I had no knowledge of the situation. Please accept my deepest apologies. If there's anything I can do to make this right... Actually, Maya said, there is something. She reached into her small clutch and pulled out a business card, her business card, the one with the Ease lion embossed in gold. I'm reopening my operations in Seoul, she said clearly. I've been in contact with my family. The charges against me were all dropped last year. We finally cleared everything up. I stayed away because I needed time, but I'm done hiding now. She looked around the room. My family is looking to expand our Asian operations. We're looking for partners, real partners, people who understand respect, who understand loyalty, who understand that power isn't about where you are right now. It's about who you've always been and who you'll always be. She handed the card to Daejung. Call me next week. Let's talk about reviving that Busan port deal. I think our families can benefit each other. Daejung took the card like it was made of gold. It would be an honor, Miss Yes. Maya turned to the old man who'd recognized her. Harabaoji, it's good to see you again. He smiled, his eyes crinkling. Welcome back, Maya C. Seoul has been less interesting without you. She laughed, a real laugh this time. I think it's about to get much more interesting. Maya turned and began walking toward the exit. The crowd parted for her like she was royalty. Her security fell into step behind her. As she reached the doors, she paused and looked back one last time. The party had completely changed. Minseo was being led away by friends, still crying. Daejung was staring at Maya's business card, and every single person in that room was talking about what had just happened. Maya smiled. Then she walked out, her head high, her back straight, looking exactly like what she was, a queen who'd spent 5 years in exile and had just reclaimed her throne. Outside, as Maya's car pulled away from the Shilla Hotel, she looked at her reflection in the tinted window. For the first time in 5 years, the face looking back at her was complete. No more hiding, no more shrinking, No more pretending to be less than she was. Her phone buzzed, a text from Emeka. How did it go? Maya smiled and typed back, they'll be talking about this for years. 3 dots appeared then. That's my sister. Come home soon. Father wants to see you. Maya looked out at Seoul passing by, the city she'd loved, the city that had broken her, the city where she'd hidden. Now it was the city where she'd risen again. Maybe I will come home, she whispered to herself, but first, I have work to do here. Because Maya Ease wasn't just back in Seoul, she was back in power, and everyone who'd walked past her, ignored her, humiliated her, they were all about to learn a very important lesson. Never mistake someone's current situation for their complete story, because invisibility isn't weakness. Sometimes it's just strategy, and the quietest person in the room might just be the most dangerous one. If you believe in stories that inspire, that challenge, that give voice to people the world often ignores, hit that subscribe button below. More powerful journeys are coming, and we'd love to have you with us.